Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sell a House, Arizona Wholesale Real Estate Training number 27 on Monday, September 29th. And it is the end of a month and the end of a quarter, the beginning of a new week, the beginning of a new month, and the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I'm excited about today. As I talk about every Monday, I absolutely love Mondays. And if you're someone who wakes up on Monday and dreads it and does nothing in the morning but say to themselves, I can't wait for the end of the week, and you are already anticipating Friday, well, it's time to admit that you hate your life, you hate what you're doing, and get on board with making some real changes in your life. You know, we are creatures of habit. And whether those habits are good and contributing to our success or bad and counterintuitive and counterproductive to our success and to achieving our goals, we are all creatures of habit, and it's time to start reflecting on what our habits are, and are they habits that are going to bring success into our lives, or are they going to bring us unsuccess, I guess, for lack of a better term. No, it's so critically important that we have the right habits. Getting up on Mondays in a good mood and jumping out of bed with a smile on your face, anticipating all the wonderful things that could happen to you this week. That's one of the habits that you want to create. And each Monday morning, as well as Wednesdays and Fridays, we're in the habit of coming on these hangouts to talk about wholesale real estate, personal development, business development, and mastermind. Paul and I mastermind, and we certainly invite a lot of other people watching to participate in these with us. And, you know, make this one of your habits, at least on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're an aspiring real estate wholesaler, someone that's trying to better their lives and have some information on personal development, business development, and insights into the marketplace, you know, make it a habit to be on these calls. Make this one of your success habits among the other habits you need to create to be successful. You know, with that being said, let's get today's call started. Paul will be joining us here in just a few minutes. He was en route, and we tried to do a remote, have Paul join us from a remote location. It didn't work out, so he'll be joining the call here any moment, hopefully. And if not, well, we can certainly carry on without Paul, though having his 2 cents put in is really awesome, because, you know, a lot of the information you'll hear from myself and a lot of the information you'll hear from Paul, it's not new information. We're not even the originators or the creators of this information. We're kind of like the messengers, and when you hear us talk about this stuff, you're actually getting another point of view, and it's always good to hear things from multiple points of view. One of my mentors, a man named Jeff Fagan, who had the amazing opportunity to work directly and create Peak Potentials, which is a self-development company with the creator, founder T. Harv Eker. Just an amazing person to have access to, being from the background he comes from and the multiple successful businesses. And one of the things that my mentor Jeff Fagan always says, which he got from T. Harv Eker, and I'd like to make this something that I say to people when I'm doing these trainings, is, you know what? Don't believe a word I say. Don't believe a word I say. And why would I say that? Well, because it comes from, everything I say comes from my point of view. And you need to take all the information that comes to you throughout the day, and you need to evaluate that information for yourself. You need to do your due diligence. And if it works for you, great, keep it. And if it isn't information that resonates with you, or you don't believe what I'm saying, you're free to take that and throw it away. And actually, I encourage you to do so. So, you know, I'm going to start this training by saying, don't believe a word I say, because this comes from my point of view, but be open to receiving and engaging in conversation and accepting new information and knowledge into your life, and then run it through your own filters and see if it applies to you, and if so, run with it. So one of the things I'd like to talk about today is, what does it take to become an expert and to become successful in wholesale real estate? Go from wholesaler to successful wholesaler. You know, there's a book out there called Outliers. And one of the concepts of the book is that in order to become an expert in your field of choice, in this case we're talking about real estate wholesaling, it requires 10,000 hours of your time to master whatever it is you choose to master. 10,000 hours of your time. So I've got a calculator here in front of me, and I want to translate this into real numbers. You know, for myself, I've been actively engaged in wholesale real estate for a little over 3 years now at this point. So there's 364 days a year. Yeah, we'll go with that. So 10,000 hours divided by 364 days means you got to be working in wholesale real estate to become a master in 1 year, 27 hours a day. That's pretty much impossible because there's only 24 hours in a day. But you know what? You can become a master in anything that you choose if you're willing to put in the time in 3 years. And let's do the math on that. You know, there's 364 days in a year times 3. That's 1,092 hours. Or that's 1,092 days. So if you divide 10,000 hours by 1,092 days, that's 9 hours a day. Honestly, for me, I've been putting about 9 to 12 hours, 6 days a week, into learning the real estate market, to learning wholesaling, and that's not just by participating in webinars and phone calls and mastermind groups and reading articles and buying programs and trainings and educating myself, which is a huge part of it. But most of the learning comes when you put things into action. It looks like Paul joined us, so I'm going to catch Paul quickly up to speed here. Is Paul, can you hear me? Are you there, Paul? Don't know. Don't hear Paul. I'm going to continue, though. Well, Paul, if you're here, I'm going to have you jump in just a second, but I basically am talking about the 10,000 hours is what this book Outliers, and a lot of experts and professionals say that's the amount of time that is required to become a master at your craft or whatever it is you're choosing to become an expert or a master at, and that it is possible if you're willing to spend 9 hours a day every day for the next 3 years, you could become a master. That's not possible for a lot of people. So, you know, maybe some people can only devote 4 hours a day to learning wholesale real estate, which is fine. It's just going to take you a little bit longer to get to the promised land. But don't let that discourage you. Make it part of your definite chief aim. And that's a big thing that we talk about on these success calls, on these wholesale trainings, is that, you know, if you're going to be successful in life, you've got to have a definite major purpose. And a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Napoleon Hill time management system. And part of that management system, he says you should devote 1 hour a day in quiet meditation. And out of that hour, you should devote 20 minutes to thinking about and creating your definite major purpose in life. And if you already have a definite major purpose, then you need to spend those 20 minutes planning for the achievement of your definite major purpose. And in my opinion, one of the things that you should be striving for if you want to be a wholesaler and not a wholesaler is that you become an expert in this. So devoting some time each and every day to studying, learning, and implementing strategies to wholesale properties, and make it a goal to achieve those 10,000 hours, should be part of your definite major purpose. And if you're going to be an expert wholesaler, you need to have approximately 10,000 hours of experience to be considered an expert. It looks like Paul has now joined us. Hey, Paul, are you up to speed? I've taken the call so far.
What's that?
Are you up to speed on where I've taken the call so far?
Well, I understand you're talking about 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything, and that's kind of where we had talked about this call going. And I don't know if you kind of were talking to the people about, our program and how we can help speed that up a little bit for them or not, but I was kind of playing with the numbers on that this morning. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I'm going to toss it to you at this point, Paul. I just basically, just to reiterate what I've talked about, the importance of a definite major purpose, and considering that there's about 10,000 hours, according to the book Outliers, required to become an expert at anything. And if you want to become a wholesaler and not be the average wholesaler, you should strive to achieve about 10,000 hours. And I was leaving it up to you to explain how we can help you get the expertise quicker. And I broke down the numbers of how if you spent 9 hours each and every single day for the next 3 years, you could get your 10,000 hours, but most people don't have that kind of time to devote to it like you and I did. And I basically set you up to get into letting people know how we can streamline them, if you will. So I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Okay, so you went with the 9-hour thing. I was going with the 8-hour day. And I was looking at the fact that if you could put 8 hours a day into whatever it is that you want to do, you would end up putting in 1,250 days, which equals 3.425 years to become a master at something. Okay, so I was working off the 8-hour day. Obviously, you went with the 9-hour day. But I was looking at that and going, I know for a fact it took us, 6 months to, well, it actually took me 8 months to land the first deal once I really got started with wholesaling. From the time you and I connected up, maybe that helped to fast track things because once we hooked up, I think it took us like, 4 to 5 months to get that first deal?
Yep, just about.
Yeah, so if you're by yourself, and it's going to take you 8 months. And like I said, here we had, fortunately, we had the collaboration of two minds to create a, quote, mastermind to help expedite our process. So I was actually really looking at the fact that probably most wholesalers, people that don't really have any idea about this, but really think that, it's something that they want to do, et cetera, and so on, but maybe don't have a lot of experience in real estate or anything like that, or sales and marketing or anything along those lines. Wouldn't surprise me if it took somebody who stuck with it and could devote 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, if it didn't take them a year to get the first deal. But I mean, let's just look at 6 months. If you could put in 8 hours a day, right? Well, let's see here. We're talking about every day. No weekends here. No weekends off. We're talking about 8 hours a day times 6 months times 30 days in a month is 1,440 hours. 1,440 hours, let's see, how would we divide that up? Well, first of all, I think I already have that down here, basically. 1,460, yeah. Yeah, that would be 6 months. 6 months to get your first deal, and that would mean you put in about 15% of your required 10,000 hours to get that first deal. You got to put 15% of your time into becoming a master just to get your first deal. Okay. So now, what if you could only put in 8 hours a week instead of 8 hours a day? Because obviously, most of the people that get started with this still have a job that they have to do. They still have a life they have to live. They still got bills they got to pay. They still got all these things going on, right? So, they basically have either a few hours a day after work and or the weekends, which most of the time life still takes up a lot of your weekends. So I mean, if somebody who can put in 8 hours a day, or let's just say 10 hours a day or 10 hours a week, right? Um, Obviously, that would cut it down to from 1,440 hours divided by 10 would be 144 weeks. Divided by 10. Yeah. No, that's not right. I don't know. I'm messing with the numbers here, but I mean, 144 weeks, that seems like a lot, right? No, I guess it's not a lot. Because if you divide 144 divided by 300, no, that's 144 divided by 52. That's right. 2.75 years to get your first deal if you're only able to put in 10 hours a week. You know what I mean? And how many of the programs out there tell you, oh, you can do this in your spare time. A couple hours a week is all you got to do, right? And you'll be making money wholesaling properties. I call BS on that, because seriously, I mean, we're living proof. We're not idiots. We read the programs. We did what they were telling us to do. We were in a hot market where there was property deals at the time when we started doing this. You couldn't throw a rock and not hit a deal in any neighborhood, because I mean, people were just walking away from their houses. There was foreclosures, there was pre-foreclosures, there was desperate people because they thought nobody was buying. That was the conception of the marketplace. So anybody that had any property to sell whatsoever felt that there was nobody out there to buy their property, so they were desperate to give it away to anybody if they could sell it. I mean, there was a deal on every freaking corner, and it took us 6 months to get that deal. Okay, this is a different market now. People have the conception that the market's hot and people are buying because that's what the media feeds, and that's where they're at right now. The reality is a little bit different than that, but still, the mindset of the seller out there now is of the fact that the market's hot and there's plenty of buyers, so they're not as desperate. So finding a deal is even more difficult than it was when we started, and it took us 6 months to get a deal. So how long is it going to take you? And we were putting in full-time hours. We were devoted. I mean, I was devoted 100%. I think John still had some days that he had to put into the paint business, but he was still devoted probably at least 60 to 75%, and I was in 100%. And so I mean, I was putting in 8 hours a day and literally 7 days a week. There was nothing else that I did for 30 days out of the year. I didn't take weekends off. I didn't go play golf. I didn't have barbecues with friends. I didn't know anybody. I was in a different city, a different state. Okay, what else did I have to do? And so, I mean, I put the full time in. And then when John came aboard, like I said, we had the extra time that he had to put in. 2 minds together, and it still took us 5 months from that point, or 4 to 5 months from that point, to land that first deal. So do you really think you're going to get out there and make it big in wholesaling just like that, at the drop of a coin because, you spent $1,500 on some program and read through it? You might be one of those lucky ones. You might be the guy that sends out 20 freaking letters and gets a deal and scores a freaking $10,000 deal, okay? But that guy's like 1 in 1,000. Are you 1 in 1,000 person? Are you 1 in 1,000? Do you have a 1 in 1,000 person's luck? You know what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of break down that 10,000 hour things when it really relates to the real estate business, to wholesaling, and especially, like I said, if you don't have the time to devote, 100% and put in your 8 hours a day, it's going to take you a lot longer, and especially, like I said, with the mindset of the marketplace today being in a different place, I can tell you right now, it's harder for us to find deals. Okay, we're not doing any. Well, we are still doing some of the things that we were doing a couple of years ago, but we're doing them in a completely different way now. So what we were doing 2 years ago doesn't work anymore. That's just the way it is. The market changes, the real estate world changes, life changes, everything changes, and you got to adapt. And we've been adapting and changing and twisting our programs around. And like I said, some of the things that we were doing, we're still doing the same basic kind of a concept, but we've twisted twisted it around completely of how we approach it, and in order to continue to have success. So a lot of different things in there that what Property Noodlers is all about is join our team. We have our finger on the pulse of what's going on, and we can get you right there, get you to find that vein, feel the pulse, know exactly where the blood's pumping, know exactly what's going on in the market, know exactly where to get out there and score a deal quickly without having to put in your 1,440 hours, worth of effort, which, like I said, could be a really long time if you can't put it all in, 7 days a week. So that's where I wanted to go. That's all I wanted to throw out there as far as that 10,000 hours things, John, goes. Why don't you go ahead and clean this up and see what they have to say about it.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to bring up one thing about the 10,000 hours that I gathered listening to Paul break it down, and I'm sure those of you watching this hangout have come to the same conclusion. Well, damn, it's going to be 5 years before I can have those 10,000 hours in, and with the time I do have, I'm going to give up before I get my first goal, as 98% of the people that come into this business saying I'm going to wholesale real estate, 98% of the new people will no longer be attempting because they'll never have a deal. They'll be done within the first year. 98% of them within
or less.
Or less. A very small amount that actually stick to it, find their first deal, and stick to the business. And I kind of have a theory on that. The ones that stick with it, not only do they have a definite major purpose, as I spoke about earlier, and a burning desire to achieve this and really want to make a difference in their life and go from what they're currently doing to something new out of their comfort zone that's going to bring them the ability to achieve financial freedom in their life, but they also understand simple concepts such as leverage. And, I'm sitting here going, how do you get to 10,000 hours when you only have 24 hours in a day, 4 hours of which you can actually devote to this business? Well, most of you are probably saying, I don't know how I'm going to have the time to put in to get my first deal so that I could see what that check looks like, see what that money tastes like so that it can inspire and encourage me to keep going. So you have to understand the concept of leverage, and that's where Paul and I come into play, is that we're offering the viewers and anyone who wants to join our team the ability to leverage us. Leverage what we already know. Leverage the fact that me and Paul already have 10,000 hours into this, and use our information and use our knowledge and our abilities to get there faster. Having a mentor, having someone that you could learn from that already has the experience is so critical to your success. And an example of this is, I just had a phone call from a guy last week that just obviously wrapped up last March with I'm not sure who, but I'm going to learn, a guru program that basically gave him a script to go out and find the guys like Paul and I by making phone calls, scraping Craigslist, doing internet searches, what have you. But he took what his mentor or his guru, whatever program it is he had, and he used the scripts provided to call me and ask me the same questions that I get probably 100 times a year. And this is how I know that only 2 out of these 100 people will still be wholesaling a year from now, is I'll have 100 calls and 98 of them will go through the same script, and then a year later they're no longer affiliated with real estate because it doesn't work. It was BS. And he ran me through the script, and I could tell in about 10 minutes of conversation with the guy, and I even quite honestly told him so, that what he's doing to try to find deals and the margins that he's looking for, he will never wholesale a deal. He watched a program online, and he took action, which is a big step, because he took action, I think he has a chance. But the information he has is garbage that's not working in today's market. The best thing that he did probably was make a connection to me, because I actually told him, I'm like, you know, what you're doing right now, whether you want to believe it or not, because you probably just dumped about $5,000 into whatever, you know, program it is that you're doing, what they're telling you to do, I can guarantee you will not work in the Phoenix marketplace. It won't. Just the margins he was looking for. I asked him, you know, what kind of deals are you looking for? And he told me the ratio, you know, the percentage of ARV. And I laughed. I said, if you find a deal like that, call me right away. I will buy it hands down. Please keep me on top of your list, because I'll buy it. But I'm going to be honest with you. What are you doing to find that deal? And he told me, oh, I'm putting in multiple offers with a realtor on the MLS. I'm like, you're wasting your time. So it's not only about putting in 10,000 hours, it's about spending those or investing those 10,000 hours into actually doing something that's going to bring success and teach you to be an expert, rather than wasting your time spinning your wheels, applying things in the market that just absolutely are not going to work. Again, I reiterate, that's where Paul and I come in, because you can leverage the two of us and cut right to the meat, and we can basically take you onto our team and show you where you should be investing your time, what you should be spending your time doing, so that you're not wasting 10,000 hours. Back to Paul.
Okay, I think we were on me visually, and you were talking this whole time. And
we were. I'm not used. We were. I totally realized that. I'm not used to running the call. I was babbling, and everyone was looking at your pretty face, which they might prefer that.
Yeah, except for the part where I was picking my nose. No, just kidding.
It's back to you now. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot I was hosting. I'm not used to this side of the table.
Right, yeah, no, just wanted to say that actually John's right. You know, 100 people will jump in after maybe even more, probably more like, I don't know how many people are showing up at these guru programs anymore these days, but, you know, some guy will come to town, and, you know, everybody will go down because they're giving them away for free now. You don't even have to buy tickets. And you go down and you listen to these guys, you know, these professional salesmen give you this freaking awesome presentation about how awesomely great wholesaling is and how easy it is and how they're doing it, which they have never done a wholesale deal themselves in their life, because they're trained salespeople who are just up there to sell you the product. But besides that, you know, and then you turn around, you buy the product in the back of the room, you take it home, you study it, and you know what, you know, say 500 people show up at that event. Like John said, there's probably going to be dang near 100 of them that are out there trying to give it a go right out of the gate. And I would say probably within the first 30 days, basically 60% of them are gone because they've read the program and that's all they were able to do, and they didn't understand it and didn't make sense to them, and they got done and pretty much dropped out of the program already within 30 days. And then they, you know, what John said, you said 2%. So now you're talking about, you know, another 38% of them left that probably might stick this out for another month or two, something like that, maybe 3, like you said, possibly even up to a year. And before they end up, you know, calling it quits on this as well too. And then there's 2% left that are actually going to continue doing it. And even out of that 2%, you know what? Probably less than 1%, maybe a 0.5% of the people that actually get started out of 100 people are going to make it into a position where this literally is a full-time deal, where they have quit their job, where this is their livelihood now, where they no longer have to work, where they have all the money that they want coming in on a monthly basis to live their lives, et cetera, and so on. And the rest of them that have actually gotten there will still be doing it, but they're only picking up a few deals a year. You know, they're doing anywhere from probably 1 to 10 deals a year, and they're supplementing their income, but they're still out there working their job. That's the reality of what this is. I've literally quit my job 3 years ago and went whole hog into this. That's another reason why it was only 8 months until we got our first deal, is because I did devote 100% of my time. Although it wasn't enough to keep me from having to go back to work at least part time for a few months in between on a couple of different occasions. So I still had to give things up and do situations like that. So I just wanted to say that even though um, where was I going with that? Even though that you got this whole program set up and you're going to be out there, even though you are one of the lucky ones that is strong enough in mind and spirit to stick it out and to never give up and to continue doing this, there's still even a lesser chance that this is ultimately going to become what you are probably dreaming about it becoming from the very, very beginning. So you're likely to be on the outs, first of all. If you do make it, you're likely to be a part-timer, a guy that scores a few deals a year and supplements their income while they're still working their job. Probably, you'll make enough money to allow you to basically do a lot of really cool things, but quitting your job isn't going to be one of those cool things. And obviously, I mean, that's probably number one on a lot of people's list is, hey, if I can get into doing this and I can make that kind of money, I can quit my stinking, lousy, crappy job. And that's an awesome goal to have. And that's what we want you to do. We want to help you do that. We want you quitting your stinking, lousy, crappy job because you know what? Jobs are stinking, they are lousy, and they are crappy. I don't care what your job is, unless you absolutely just love what it is that you do. And that's great. If you love what you do, then you're in the right place, and you can do you can do the things that you want to do. You can achieve the goals you want to achieve through your job to a certain extent. Anyway, that's a whole other subject about creating passive income and financial freedom, and that's what this allows you to do. Though this is going to allow you to get there and do some of that, creating financial freedom and taking your life to where you want it to be. Like I said, being able to get yourself into a position where you can quit that job. So I don't know where the heck John went, who's running the show. So I'm kind of running out of material here, but I'll just keep on rambling on. So anyway, yeah, like John was saying, the kid that called us up the other day, I still haven't talked to him yet because I've been out of town. But sounds like a very hungry, eager kid who is, got all of the basics down. He's out there doing what he read and was told to do. But as John said, and as I was mentioning earlier, the market has changed. The mindset of the seller has changed. Everything has changed. And, they're basically telling him, and you guys have probably heard this, you want to, figure out whatever 65% of the ARV is, subtract out the repair costs, and subtract out the $5,000 for yourself as a wholesale fee, and that's what you want to offer people. And you go out there and you start making offers like that, and people are laughing at you and they're getting pissed off, and they're you're making them angry because you're insulting them. You're insulting their intelligence is how they feel about it, because quite honestly, people are buying, and like what John said, the kid was doing was having a real estate agent making offers for him off the MLS. Um, and don't get me wrong, this stuff is still in play in certain markets. But that's another thing that we were talking about knowing your marketplace and knowing what's going on. But that stuff is completely all going away. If it's still happening in your market, it's dwindling quickly because the perception, turn on your television and look at one of the National Association of Realtors commercials and don't tell me that they're touting how hot the market is and how everybody's buying properties right now, which is quite frankly a lot of BS because the people that are buying properties are still 60% investors. I don't care what anybody says out there, that's who's buying most of the property is 60% investors that are still driving this market today. So the homeowner purchaser is not as strong as they bring it to be, Anyway, with that said, like I was talking about, everything changes, and wherever your marketplace is, all of these things that that might work for you are on the outs. And if you get in the game and you're lucky enough to score a deal quite early, within the first 1, 2, 3 months, you need to use that money smartly. Uh, Completely evaluate your marketing systems and what you're doing. Um, Look at the people that you're contacting, get more information from the sellers that you're contacting about what kind of people are approaching them, et cetera, and so on. And you really, really, really need to keep up with what's going on in your marketplace and what's going on with everything that is happening, so that you can stay ahead of the game. Because um, the offers are going to change. The offers are going to be getting higher and higher and higher, and if you keep sticking with the same offer, you're going to start getting beaten out. I mean, quite frankly, the people that are making offers on the MLS, wholesalers that are making offers on the MLS in the Phoenix market today, they're wholesaling or they're contracting properties right at the price where an investor really wants the property. That's what they're doing. This is how tight the market has gone. Okay? They're contracting properties at exactly at the price that the investor wants to buy it at, the price that they're expecting to sell it at and make a profit. Right exactly at that number, and then hoping that within their 10-day inspection period, they're going to find somebody who's willing to buy that property for anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 more than what they've contracted it for. That's how tight. $1,000 to $3,000 on a deal, and they're hoping, and the only thing that they're doing, like I said, is they're contracting properties at what a guy will pay for it, what they know a guy will pay for it, and hoping that somebody will see something a little bit differently. Somebody will see something that jacks up the value a little bit in that area. Somebody that maybe just likes that area. It's crazy. There's a lot of competition out there in this business today, in all markets, a lot more than there ever was before, just like anything else in this world. But still, if you approach it right, and if you're doing the things right, if you're going after the right if you're going after the right sellers, and your approach is right, you have an irresistible offer for these sellers, not a generic out of the book offer that is exactly like 5 other people made. There's a lot of keys involved with this, and as John was talking about, we can help you to hone in on what's working, whatever your market is right now. Like I said, the Phoenix market, when I say it leads the country, I'm not saying that it leads the country in anything except for the advancement in the progression from the bottom of the market to where it is today. Okay, the Phoenix market is the farthest out ahead in that transgression, or not transgression, but in that transformation from the bottom of the market to where we are today. We've already hit our peak and dropped down, and now maybe coming back up a little bit, but you guys could be anywhere in the climbing period right now. You might be reaching the peak. Whatever your market's doing, I can tell you square away right now, the Phoenix market has already done it. So that's why I'm telling you that whatever your market's doing, we can help you figure out exactly where that is and help you to determine, what's your best approach in where you should be marketing, how you should be marketing, and how you should be approaching and talking to sellers and negotiating sellers and making offers, et cetera, and so on, and figuring out, and also figuring out, what your buyers are willing to pay and all that. Hey, Johnny boy! Leaving me hanging over here. You're running the show, remember? Anyway, I got to keep talking here because John's got to come over here and close this thing out. I don't think I have control over it. I do not. Live, enhanced, bite people.
Yeah, so you know after balls.
So, Anyway,
All right, we'll talk a little bit later. I'll give you a call.
yeah, property noodlers, that's what we're all about, is getting you honed in on getting some deals. Like John was saying earlier, your inspiration comes from what achieving what your drive is, and your drive is to get into this to make freaking money, right? So your inspiration is going to come from actually seeing some money come in instead of putting out more and more money month after week and month after month in attempted failing marketing attempts. So that's what we want to do, is we want to limit the expenses out of your pocket and get you marketing the proper way, get you marketing to the highest top quality prospects, not just the big balloon generic stuff that costs a lot of money. It's been said that in the Phoenix market, doing that type of marketing, that it costs $1,500 per deal. Marketing. $1,500 worth of marketing per deal that you acquire. So I'm sure you probably just spent a whole bunch of money. You don't have another $1,500 to put into marketing, and that's the big. I don't want to call it a lie or a scam or a falsity or anything like that, because they didn't lie to you. It's the big left out piece of the programs that sell you upon flipping real estate, doing wholesale real estate with none of your own money, with no money out of your pocket. It doesn't take any money to do this. What they're saying is the actual transaction, okay? It doesn't cost you anything. There can be no money out of your pocket, maybe as little as $10 or $100 or something like that out of your pocket to actually perform the transaction. What they don't tell you about is what it's going to cost you to find that deal and get that contract, from which point then it's not going to cost you anything. That's what they don't tell you, okay? You get the program, then you start realizing, and this is where most of the people end up dropping out within the first 30 days, is they realize all of a sudden that, hey, wow, I just spent a whole bunch of money on this program, and now they want me to spend a whole bunch more money doing all of this marketing, and I don't have that money, or I can only afford to do, I just spent all that money on that, I can only afford to do $20, $40, $50 a week or a month even, something like that. And how much success do you really think you're going to have putting out $20, $40, $50 a week or a month when it costs you $1,500 per deal in marketing to land a deal? You do the math. It's going to take you a long-ass time, okay? That's just the way it is. So what we're offering here is the ability to streamline that process. We can help you to hone in on the quality leads so that you can spend a whole pile less money in your marketing to find that first deal, and then get you to the point where you can realize some profits and cash, what your drive is, why you're here, why you want to do this. You can get a little bit of that excitement in you, and then we can also help you to, obviously, from that point on, not spend your profits wastefully on more, big balloon type of marketing campaigns, and help you to stay honed in on, lesser marketing costs equaling more deals coming in. So you don't have to spend, so it doesn't have to cost you $1,500 each time you want a new deal. I mean, heck, if you only make $3,000, if you're only making $3,000 on your profit, like the guys pulling down those MLS properties I was talking about, and you only make $3,000 on your deal, and you got to spend $1,500 of that to get your next one. So you made $1,500, and you're only getting one deal a month, and you're putting in 10 hours a week. That's 40 hours, and you made $1,500. Not bad. You're making about $27, $30 an hour, but just a job. And it can take you to financial freedom, and that's why you're here, right? Financial freedom, to be able to one day quit your job. So now all of a sudden I got on a roll after I had a blank there, John. So sorry about that. I'm kicking you out. I am done. Great seeing you guys. I hope to get that email from you. I don't have my thing up because I'm on a different email address this morning, but propertynoodlers@gmail.com. Send us that email. help us get you started and getting some money in your pocket really, really quick and a whole heck of a lot cheaper than what it's going to cost you to get that first deal. Back to you, John. Take us home.
Well, you know what? I had to jump away for a few minutes there. Basically, yes, send Paul or I an email at propertynoodler@gmail.com. Let me put it on my face. I forgot I'm the one monitoring this thing. Anyways, yes, send us a message. Leverage our expertise at no cost to you. Leverage our abilities. Leverage our information. Leverage our system. And take back some of your time. Utilize us so you don't have to spend all this time going nowhere. And why not work with people who are actually doing it rather than selling you a program on how to do it based on information that's 2-3 years old that isn't working in the marketplace anymore, and actually become a wholesaler and be one of the 2% of people that actually find success in this business. Let me and Paul help you, leverage us. You know what? And I will admit, it's a win-win, because we're teaching you theoretically for free, but there is a benefit to Paul and I putting together a team of like-minded, aggressive individuals that want to learn this business and become successful. Our success is predicated on your success, and we're not selling programs, and we're not doing things that in the marketplace that haven't worked for 2 years. We've got our fingers on the pulse of the market. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, and we can show you, saving you a lot of time, so the time you do have can be invested in the things that will produce results. So please send us an email at propertynoodler@gmail.com. Get on board with our team. And I'm going to end this today, as we do, with our Napoleon Hill prayer, which goes, "O universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom with which to achieve the riches given to me at birth, through the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I may desire." All right, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you here again on Wednesday.